Loman, Maomao's dad, asks her to get some medicine to Verdigris House. On the way back home, she's kidnapped. 3 months later, she finds herself doing servant work in the king's palace and thinking about her dad and what he is doing. Then, another child is born to the emperor. Lady Gyoku gave birth to his child. A couple months later, the child is very sick and on the edge of death. All the emperor's apothecaries try to cure him, but no luck. Maomao hears about this and starts to think about what could be the problem. Then she realizes that the white makeup powder that females in the palace use is causing that problem. And when Master Jin Shi was on his way to calm down Lady Li Hua because she was accusing Lady Gyoku of her son's death, Maomao managed to steal a pen from Jin Shi. Later, she writes with it on a piece of cloth the cure and attaches it to a flower. Lady Gyoku finds the flower with the treatment attached to it and the kid is saved. Master Jin Shi figures out later that it was Maomao and that she was the one who brought the flower. Maomao is taken to Lady Gyoku and she is asked how she knew how to cure the kid. She explains that she was an apothecary back home and she was familiar with the different types of poisons. This way, Maomao becomes Gyoku's lady-in-waiting. Jinshi is told that some soldiers were poisoned, and they suspect the villagers that gave them the food. Maomao is taken to Gyoku's place, Jade Pavilion, and she is introduced to Hong Yang, the head lady-in-waiting. She is shown the pavilion and introduced to her new lady-in-waiting mates, Yinghua, Gai Yuan, and Isla, and she's given her new room. The next day, she's told that her job is going to be poison taster. Hong Yang says that she's going to get paid for her job, but Maomao explains that half of her money goes to her kidnappers who sold her. Hong Yang drops on the floor an expensive vase, saying that the money for this is going to be charged from her kidnappers' money. Next, Maomao is taken to Jin Shi and he explains the problem with the soldiers that got poisoned. After listening to clues that Jin Shi gave, she concludes that not the food was poisoned, but the herbs that were put into the fire that is what might cause the poisoning. And before leaving, Jin Shi asks Maomao if she's good at making aphrodisiacs. When she hears this, she's so happy because it's her dream to make drugs and medicines. She's given all the ingredients necessary to make the aphrodisiacs. She cooks some of those and makes them into cookies. Then, when she's not there, some of her friends go and eat some of those cookies. Later, they're found on the floor in a very happy state. At least Maomao knows the aphrodisiac works, and she proves herself that she's capable of making the medicines. Rumors are heard that there is a ghost haunting the pavilion. Then Jin Shi pays a visit to Maomao and asks her if she has heard the rumors about the ghost. He also asks her what she thinks about sleepwalking. He wants to know if there's any cure for that. Later at night, Maomao is taken by one of Jin Shi's servants, Gao Shun, to have a look at one of the emperor's concubines. They think that she has some kind of mental illness. It's believed that she walks in her sleep. Her name is Fuyo. They find her dancing in front of the moon on the eastern wall of the palace, a very beautiful dance. People talk that when she had to perform her dance in front of the emperor, she stumbled and fell. And because of that, the emperor did not want to touch her anymore. And it's believed because of that, she started to have this mental illness. Maomao also finds out that she was promised as a trophy to one of the emperor's soldiers for being brave in a fight. In the day when Fuyo was supposed to be given to the soldier, Gyokyu approached Maomao after seeing her thoughtful for many days. She asks her personal opinion on this situation. Maomao is saying that she thinks that Fuyo and the soldier love each other from childhood, and she did all this hoping the emperor would not touch her to keep her purity, and one day she would be given to that soldier and be together with him forever. And in the night, when she was dancing in front of the moon, she was doing that to wish him good luck in the fight that he had. Next, Maomao is at Crystal Pavilion, where Lady Li Hua stays. She's there because the emperor said Li Hua is ill and asked Maomao to take care of her. Everybody thinks that she has an enemy over there. Maomao starts to improve Lady Li Hua's diet. After starting to check what she was giving her to eat, she realized that her ladies-in-waiting were not giving her proper food, feeding her with junk that's doing harm. She finds out that her lady-in-waiting was putting that white makeup on her face to look good, but that also was doing a lot of harm. After many days of taking care of Lady Li Hua and feeding her with proper food and medicine, Maomao manages to strengthen her body and Li Hua starts to come back to life. After 2 months of taking care of Lady Li Hua, she manages to step outside on her own 2 feet. Jinshi starts to show some interest for Maomao and has concerns about if she's okay and is she doing well. Maomao, after finding some delicious mushrooms, comes to share them with the elder doctor. He proposes to her how to make them okay to eat by putting them on a charcoal, cooking them, and adding some soy sauce and salt. When they're eating, a man enters, asking the doctor if he can cure him from a curse. He has a fever. Later, Jinshi comes to Maomao and asks her knowledge on some sort of colors. Maomao explains her knowledge on that and says that it will cause a fever or a burn on the skin. Then, Jinshi orders his servant to search for people who recently got burns on their hands. When she returns to Pavilion, Maomao is told that there is going to be a garden party, and she has to dress specially for this occasion. She needs to be dressed in special clothes. They have to dress as beautifully as possible to accompany the emperor. When the day comes, Maomao is forced to put makeup on her face. At that point, she gets caught out. She's been using fake freckles to make herself seem unattractive. Before the party starts, Jinshi meets Mao and doesn't recognize her at first. He's amazed by her beauty and compliments her. She then confesses to him that she has fake freckles. Jinshi, confused, asks her why she would do that. Mao explains to him that where she came from, being a cute girl could get you in trouble, and men could try to force you to sleep with them. So she was doing that to look uglier. Mao tells him that the day she was kidnapped, this trick did not work, and she was sold as a servant to the palace. Jinshi feels sorry for her and gives his hairpin to her. Confused of this action, she doesn't actually know what that means. The party starts. The garden party starts and all 4 highest concubines of the emperor come to show their beauty and gorgeousness. Mao and her mates meet Li Hua's ladies-in-waiting, and they all have a proxy war of words. Because of the makeup, they did not recognize Mao, but once they realize that it's her, Li Hua's servants run away. Then, Lady Li Hua herself approaches Mao, being happy to see her, and gives her a beautiful hairpin, a sign of respect, because she saved her. The party continues, and there's a show of a martial art, a show of music. Then all emperor's concubines get on the stage to show their art of eating food. Each food taster has to taste the food first, and Mao tastes a couple of the foods. Then, one of the foods is poisoned, and she runs away. Everybody panics, and the officials don't believe that the food is poisoned because Mao did not die. They don't know that she tried a lot of poisoned foods in the past, so she has a stronger immunity. Jinshi finds her and shows concern about her health and tries to get her to a doctor. Back at the pavilion, Mao asks Jinshi to bring Lady Li Shu and her taster to have a talk. When they come, Mao discovers an allergy in Li Shu's hand. Her guest confirms that she is allergic to fish. Mao scolds her taster for being ignorant to her mistress and gives an instruction in case that allergy happens again. When Li Shu leaves, Mao says that Li Shu was the one to be poisoned, not Gyokyu. She deduces that from Li Shu's taster's behavior on the stage and the food ingredients that were on the plate, the cooker messed up the plates, which means that the poison ended up on Lady Gyokyu's table. The next morning, Maomao wakes up concerned if her dad is okay. Mao asks Gao Shun to bring her the bowl with poisoned food from yesterday to analyze it. After finding fingerprints in the bowl, Mao deduces that in this incident, there are 4 persons involved. The one who poured the food, the one who carried the bowl, Li Shu's taster, and the one who put in the poison. Mao thinks that the taster switched the bowls to humiliate Li Shu. Li Shu's taster shows disrespect for her and tries to bully her by switching the bowls, but this is what saved her life. Next, Mao meets with her friend from laundry, Xiao Lan, and she asks if Mao got any hairpin. Xiaolan explains that her hairpin gives her the right to leave the palace accompanied by a male. She decides to go and visit her dad. She goes to the soldier that gave her the red hairpin and asks him to accompany her to her house. He asks her what he is going to get back from that. Mao makes him an offer that he cannot say no to. A night at Verdigris House, the most prestigious brothel with one out of the 3 most desired courtesans in the country. The soldier realizes that the money that this costs would usually take him an entire year to save up. He couldn't refuse her, and the next day Mao gets home to her father, happy to see him. And the soldier gets his promised prize. He's really happy too, obviously. When Mao wakes up, a girl knocks at her door. Troubled, she grabs Mao's hand and takes her to the hotel. A man and a courtesan were dying from choking. Mao saves them. She studies the accident scene and the clues, and it's hard for her to understand how they got poisoned. At first, it seems like it was a suicide attempt. Mao tells the girl that brought her there to go and bring her dad too. On the way out, the girl glances at Mao very strangely. Mao's dad comes too, but not rushing very much. Then, when she was going to the room where the poisoned man was resting, she saw the little girl with a knife trying to kill him. Mao stops her. Then, Mao was told that this man is a trouble-causing customer, and they had many incidents with him, but he always gets away clean. He betrayed this little girl's sister, probably that's why she tried to kill him. After some speculations and thoughts, why would they try to kill that man? Mao realizes that she needs to go back to the palace. She goes back to the hotel and grabs the soldier, who is, needless to say, very pleased with his stay there. Back at the pavilion, she is met by Jinshi, who is very upset with her and waits on an explanation. Jinshi is annoyed and upset why she didn't ask him for help instead. Lady Gyokyu is laughing, pleased, and has fun with the drama that Jinshi made. Jinshi had a bit of a shock when he found out that Mao left home with another man. Then Jinshi gets sad news that Sir Conan is dead. He was Jinshi's master, and Conan helped him a lot when he was young. Jinshi asks Mao to take a look at his master's death. After some searches and having a look at the jag that he was drinking from, the analysis of Conan's diet said that he had developed a desire for sugar and alcohol. Mao deduces from that eating too much sugar and drinking alcohol, habits that he developed after his wife and child died, he lost his taste for salt. And probably people who were drinking with him made a joke on him putting salt into the jag by adding more and more. Because he could not taste the salt, he was drinking alcohol together with it, and so that's why he died. The next day, they find a dead woman drowned in a pond. Jinshi also receives the info that the suspect with the burned arms was found, and it's Fang Ming, Duo's head lady in waiting. Rumors go that the woman found drowned was the one putting poison into Li Hua's food. Jinshi asks Mao to go to the Garnet Pavilion to help Lady Duo there. She goes there and is met by Fang Ming. Then Lady Duo comes and greets them. Mao is surprised by her beauty at 35. All of them clean around the pavilion, Mao trying to pay attention to anything that can be a clue for everything that happened recently. She's spying on Fang Ming, who observes her behavior. She finds out that Fang Ming has a lot of honey reserves. When she is back, Mao tells Jinshi everything that she thinks about Fang Ming, and that she saw a band-aid on her arm and some sort of burn. Then she pays a visit to Lady Li Shu and asks her why she doesn't like honey, and if she is allergic to honey, and if she's familiar with Fang Ming. On the way home, Mao asks Gao Shun if he somehow can have access to the past events that happened in the palace. Gao Shun gives her a book with past events, which say that 17 years ago, young emperor had a son with Lady Duo, but he died 1 year later. The document says that the emperor and Duo are foster siblings, and Mao finds out that her father was taking care of the emperor's son at the time. Mao pays a visit to Feng Ming, asking if they can have a talk. Mao wants to know what happened when Duo gave birth, but she replies that it is not any of her business. Then Mao says that the doctor in charge that night was her father. Feng Ming is surprised. Mao said that the night that Arduo gave birth, her father was the doctor assisting her, but Arduo was forced to wait because of the emperor's son, who was sick and more important. Arduo, with big pain and struggle, gave birth to her son. Soon after, Arduo's son passed away. While concubine Arduo was recovering, Feng Ming took care of the child, being unaware. She was feeding the child with honey, thinking that it would benefit the child, but it turned out that it was lethal because of the nectar of the flower that the honey was made from. The child passed away from this. Later, Feng Ming learned that the child died because of the honey she was feeding it with. Concubine Li Shu was close to concubine Arduo during the previous emperor's reign. She was her elder, and Arduo was like a mother to Li Shu. During this time, Li Shu shared to Feng Ming that she almost died from honey when she was a child, and Feng Ming, to make sure that Arduo never finds out that, she starts to chase away Li Shu from Garden Pavilion. Later, the previous emperor died, and Li Shu was forced to leave the rear palace. Problem solved. But one day, Li Shu came back as a high-rank concubine, a threat for Arduo's position, and a threat for Feng Ming's secret. As Arduo couldn't give birth, and to close the problem with the honey, Feng Ming decided to poison young Li Shu. As Mao concluded, her desire was to keep concubine Arduo's position of influence among the 4 concubines of the emperor. Arduo is scheduled to leave the rear palace. She is relocated back to an imperial village. The decision had nothing to do with Feng Ming's actions. It was a decision taken by the emperor a long time ago. Later at night, Mao could not sleep and decided to go on the roof to watch the sky. Suddenly, Lady Arduo joins her on the roof and asks Mao if she wants to join her to have a drink. Arduo tells Mao that after her child left, she was no more treated as a concubine by the emperor, but as a friend who was really sad, and she wasn't so important to the emperor anymore. On her way down from the roof, Mao encounters Jin Shi. He was there, drunk. Scared, Mao falls down into Jin Shi's arms, who was so drunk that he did not care, and embraced her and held her tight. He asks her to stay with him to keep him warm. Mao tries to escape from his arms, but he holds her tighter, and tears start to drop from Jin Shi's eyes. The next day, Arduo prepares to leave Rear Palace and returns the crown that signifies superior power over the other concubines. When Arduo returns the crown to Jin Shi, Mao takes a look at those two and realizes that they look so similar, and speculates that they are relatives. Mao speculates that the children were swapped at one point between Arduo's child and the previous emperor's child. Probably this decision was hard, but at the end of the day, Arduo's son would survive. Lady Li Shu starts to run towards Arduo, begging her not to leave. Those two embrace each other and feel sorry that they have to separate. After Lady Arduo left the palace, there was given an order that everybody who was related to Feng Ming had to leave the palace and be fired from their jobs. The family that Mao was sold to when she was kidnapped were relatives with Feng Ming, so Mao was to be fired as well. Mao comes to Jin Shi to ask him not to fire her because she owes money to the old madam who runs the Verdigris House, and the old madam will likely force her to work for sure at the brothel to return the debt that Mao has. They did not understand each other. Jin Shi thinks that Mao wants to leave the palace, and they let her go. She is fired. The next day, she doesn't have any choice but to work for the old madam at the brothel. At night, Mao goes at the party with her sisters. They dance, sing, entertain the people there when suddenly Mao stumbles into Master Jin Shi. He is shocked to see her over there and asks her what she is doing. Mao responds that she's working. He's shocked even more. She explains to him that they have no touch policies for now. He's shocked again. Jin Shi is promising that he's going to buy her from there. The next day, he comes back to the hotel with the money. The old madam is very happy to see the cash, and he brings a present for Mao, too. Mao is enormously happy. In the morning, Jin Shi and Gao Shun come and get Mao from Verdigris House. Her sisters dress her up very beautifully and put on some makeup so that she would look as cute as possible. and they give Mao a lot of stuff to take with her: books, makeup, recipes, how to seduce a man, and so on and so forth. When they come out, everybody stares at Mao because of her beauty. Jin Shi takes her to his house. Mao is surprised and asks why. Gao Shun explains to her that once she was fired, they cannot put her back in the same job and the same position that she was in previously, and she will now be working in the outer court. Over there, she meets Lady Sweden. Then Jin Shi explains to Mao that she's going to be working in the outer court, so she has to pass a test. At the outer court, Mao meets some arrogant ladies who show her some attitude, jealous of her because she serves Master Jin Shi. One of them slaps her, full of arrogance. Mao fails the test on purpose. Then, in the evening, when she is gathering some herbs, another lady comes and hits her in the back, telling her that she was not supposed to be there, that she went too far outside the court, meaning someone was watching her strangely from a distance. Next, the new emperor concubine, Lolan, who took Ah Duo's place, comes in. And all the other concubines have to have a lesson where they have to learn how to please and seduce the emperor better. Mao has 2 recommendations, one from Lady Gyokyu and one Lady Li Hua, to be the teacher for this class. Mao brings in all her stuff that she got from her sisters at the Verdigris House, and starts to teach concubines everything she has. Lady Gyokyu and Lady Li Hua are pleased with what they read. Lady Li Shu faints when she hears and sees certain things. Lady Lulan doesn't show interest and stays cold. Jin Shi asks Mao if it was a success, this lesson, and she answers that she might want to ask the emperor later. During the night, an explosion is heard, and the crowd is in trouble to find out what happened. Mao wonders the next day what that noise was last night. On her way to gather herbs, she meets the soldier who helped her get home previously. She asks him what they're doing. He explains that they're investigating the explosion that took place last night. She asks permission to study the food deposit that exploded, and she finds a smoking pipe. Then she runs to a different food storage to check it out. She asks Li Haku if the food that's stored there right now is the same stuff that was in the one that blew. She analyzes the flour bags over there and asks for a saw, a hammer, and some nails. She wants to conduct an experiment. Mao puts together a wooden box, pours flour in there, covers the box, and throws a fire starter. Boom! Mao said that the powder formed on the floor from where the flour, this is what made the explosion, especially wheat flour. The worker came in, the wind blew the powder, got into the air, the worker decided to light his smoking pipe, and boom! At home, Mao took a look at the smoking pipe and thought that it was an expensive one, and she should return it to the owner. At Master Lacan's residence, his servants were praising Mao that she is very smart and helped to solve the deal with the explosion. Gao Shun asks Mao to take a look at an incident, a possible food poisoning that was done on purpose. This man has a passion for rare food. He did eat puffer fish, and after this he fell into a coma. Mao, accompanied by a soldier, Basset, goes to the man's house. They both go into the kitchen when suddenly a man troubled and nervous goes nuts and tells them to get out, and asks who gave them the permission to be there. Basset intervenes and tells him that they are there on mistress's permission. Mao is looking for any clues and finds some seaweed. The angry man insists again for them to leave. While leaving, Mao manages to steal some of that weed. On the way back, she tells Basset that the seaweed is fresh and it's too early for the season for this weed. Basset confirms that the weed is brought from the southern regions and that the bureaucrat was not consuming actual local seaweed. Mao learns that people from the region don't actually eat that particular seaweed, and if the seaweed is not treated well, it can be poisonous. So she thinks somebody knew that and gave the seaweed on purpose to poison the bureaucrat. Later, Gao Shun finds out that the younger brother was the one who poisoned the bureaucrat, the one who was angry when Mao and Basset were investigating the kitchen. Lacan decides to come to Master Jin Shi. Master Jin Shi is concerned of this visit because he knows Lacan as a strategist, and he does not have sympathy for Jin Shi. He asks him to let Mao help him with an unsolved problem, as he heard that Mao has a passion for unsolved puzzles. He explains that a very clever craftsman, a metalworker, died suddenly. He had 3 sons and failed to leave his secrets and a successor. But he left a puzzle with his will. Perhaps Mao can help with that and solve it. And maybe the secret technique that the craftsman was using will be revealed in that puzzle. Jinshi has no choice but to agree with him and give the help he's asking for. Jinshi thinks the whole thing is troublesome. He explains that the workshop shack went to the older brother, a drawer to the middle brother, and a fishbowl to the younger brother, and a note that they should have a tea party like in the old times. Jinshi gives Mao the address, and she goes there accompanied by Basset. The brothers meet them and show them the stuff that their father left. Mao finds the 2 of the brothers angry on their father because he did not leave them anything, just nonsense things. Plus, 2 older brothers were not liking the youngest one. They did not get along that good in past years. After studying and analyzing the stuff the metalworker left, Mao guesses how to open the drawer. One more interesting fact that they found was a piece of metal that was melting quickly when exposed to heat. Inside the drawer, they find 3 types of metal. Beautifully worked, but still no clue on the father's will. They sit at the table to have the tea party, but still nothing found. At the end, they understand that their father's will was for his sons to get along with each other, love and support each other. Next, we see Master Jinshi trying to change his appearance because he has to meet somebody in the pleasure district, and he does not want to be recognized in public. Maomao approaches him and smells his hand, and tells him that he smells too good for a random person. First thing he needs to do is get different clothes, dirty ones. Then she's saying that his hair is too well maintained, which is not good. Maomao takes some water and puts salt in it and washes his hair with that water, making it look rough. Then Maomao takes a look at his body. Jinshi was in really good shape. She takes some towels and wraps them around his body to make him look chubby, to make him look bizarre. Then, Maomao does some sort of makeup to make his face look unkempt. She makes fun of Jinshi by putting red lipstick on his lips. He was looking like a woman. Everybody was embarrassed. Next, Maomao makes a mixture that will change his voice a bit. Then she forces Jinshi to drink it. And finally, she gives him some cotton to put in his mouth between the cheeks so his face changes shape. Next day, Maomao plans to take a day off and go home to visit her father. Master Gao Shun comes and tells her that she's going to accompany her master Jinshi because his destination is in the same way. She's not happy with that. On the way to the destination, Jinshi asks Maomao not to call him by his real name, but to call him instead Jinka. While walking through the market, Maomao smells something good. There is a place selling chicken skewers. They buy some of those and enjoy them, especially Maomao is enjoying them. Basset, who was guarding them from a distance, got 3 sticks with chicken. Maomao and Jinshi have a conversation where she's confessing that her father has adopted her and is not her real father. Then, Jinshi asks how the value of a courtesan can be decreased. Maomao explains that there are many ways. The value of a courtesan is defined by her purity. Some of them decide to stay pure till the day they are bought. In the case of pregnancy, it will reduce the price nearly to 0. Jinshi enters the place where he was heading, and Maomao heads back to her father. At night, she has a nightmare, a woman with a knife trying to stab a kid. She wakes up scared because of that dream from the past. Her father greets her and asks what her plan is for that day. He gives her some medicine to get it to Verdigris House. Over there, Maomao is happy to see her and gives her a big hug. At Verdigris House, she goes to a room where a woman stays sick in bed. Maomao brought her some medicine and gave it to her. She was not lucky enough and got syphilis, and she's gradually dying, losing her memories. She was forced to continue to provide services to the customers, and her disease got worse. Since then, that woman was locked in that room. While taking care of this woman, one girl comes and tells her that the weirdo man came, so Maomao should not show up in the front. One of her sisters from Verdigris House told her that the weirdo brought the offer for Maomao again. Back at Jinshi's house, Sui Ren asks Maomao to go and pick up some medicine. At the shop, she meets again the lady that hit her in the back a couple of weeks ago. Her name is Suite. She seems to dislike Maomao. Back at Jinxi's house, Lacan pays him a visit again, asking him to give him back what belongs to him. He reveals that he is Maomao's father. He asks Jinxi what is his price for her. He will pay any amount. Jinxi refuses him. Lacan asks Jinxi to let her know that he wants to pay a visit sometimes, and leaves. Jinxi tells Maomao that there is a man who wants to pay her a visit soon, and his name is Lacan. She is not happy at all with that. On her way to gather some herbs, Maomao meets again Sweetie. They have a conversation, and Sweetie tells her that she's gonna plant a resurrection medicine. But then, she's saying that she's joking. She also says that soon she will plant in that place morning glories. Gaoshun tells Jinxi that he has to attend in the afternoon a ceremony, so he needs to get prepared. Then Lihaku runs to Maomao and tells her that they have a problem, and if she remembers the explosion that took place not long ago. That night, another deposit was robbed. In the deposit was stored ceremonial equipment. The thief took advantage of the explosion and robbed it. Maomao was curious how a deposit like this one was left unattended. Lihaku tells her that the last overseer died almost a year ago, and the new one got poisoned with seaweed around the time when the warehouse was robbed, and he didn't recover yet. All this sounds familiar to Maomao. She analyzes all these things: the theft that took place on the explosion night, a manager that is absent due to food poisoning, then Lihaku telling her that the previous manager died from drinking too much. Mao asks if, by chance, is his name Conan. Lihaku is surprised. How did she know his name? Then Lihaku shows her the smoking pipe that she wanted to return. The man did not want to take it back because it was not his. He received it as a gift from a court lady one night when he escorted her home late. Lihaku tried to find out more about her, but the only info he was able to find was that she's tall and smells like medicine. Maomao thinks about the court lady named Sweetie and explains that there is too many coincidences, and there might be someone behind all this who organized these events. Next, we see Maomao explaining to Master Jinxi all these events and the coincidences behind them. Jinxi promises Maomao a really exciting prize for her if she will continue to investigate these events and who's behind all of it. Maomao goes to the library and searches for some clues. After searching some documents over there, she finds out that the stolen things are for some sort of ceremony. And the man in charge for the library said that at one point he was concerned about the piece of metal that holds the payload. He thought at one point the metal can break and somebody can get killed. Maomao finds out that the ceremony is taking place at Sapphire Sky Altar that noon. Immediately, she starts to rush over there because the man who leads the ceremony is in danger of dying. She gets in front of the building, but the soldier over there doesn't want to let her in. She explains to him that who or whatever is leading the ceremony is in danger to die. He must let her in to stop the ceremony. Maomao provokes him, and the soldier lands her a big hit in the face. Maomao almost passed away from the hit. Her eye and face swelled from the hit. Barely speaking, Maomao tries again to explain to the soldier that somebody is in danger and she must stop the ceremony. He doesn't believe her. Out of nowhere, Master Lacan appears and confronts the soldier and asks him if his word's enough to let her in. Maomao sneaks behind the soldier and rushes into the temple. She keeps running towards the altar, and when she's there, she approaches quickly the man at the altar and pushes him aside, saving him from the falling piece of metal. Maomao's leg got wounded in the process. The man at the altar was Master Jinxi. She saved him. Jinxi is confused as to what happened to her face. Maomao, in her style, asks him if she can have the prize that she was promised, the ox Bizor. Maomao doesn't understand why Master Jinxi is there and why he is having such a sad look. Then she passes out. Master Jinxi grabs her in his hands and slowly walks home, holding her in his arms. On his way downstairs, he encounters Master Lacan, who has an astonished face that Jinxi is the one who Maomao saved. In the morning, Maomao wakes up in the bed with one eye and her leg bandaged, and she does not understand why she is in the Master Jinxi's bedroom. Jinshi asks her how she ended up being there and how she knew that the payload was going to fall. Maomao is saying that the incident was caused by multiple coincidences that were planned by somebody. The first coincidence was Master Conan's death. The second was the explosion at one of the warehouses and the theft of the ceremonial stuff that took place the same night. Next, the manager of the ceremonial tools that was poisoned. And another clue was that the ceremonial tools were replaced by the metalworker who had that secret technique of doing metals. Mao thinks that who planned this told the metalworker to do that holding piece of metal from that metal that melts when exposed to heat. And the metalworker was then killed to eliminate the suspicion. The next day, Basset dug around more to find out any evidence, and he found out that a court lady was related to all the events. Her name is Sweetie, but they will not be able to get any information out of her because she committed suicide by taking poison. The doctor confirmed that she's dead. Maomao remembers that she told her the joke about the resurrection medicine. Mao asks Jinshi the permission to take a look at her corpse. They go there and find out that the body in the coffin is not hers. Somebody switched the bodies. She took the thornapple medicine to make her death look fake. This kind of poison works like an anesthetic if taken in the right amounts. Next, we see Jinshi visiting Lady Gyokyu. She asks him to send Maomao to take care of her because she thinks she's pregnant. The next day, Maomao is back at Rear Palace, in the same room and doing the same job as before, tasting for poisonous food. Lihaku hears a rumor that somebody wants to buy out Perrin from Verdigris House. He's not happy at all. Next day, Lihaku sends a letter that he wants to meet with Maomao. When they meet, Lihaku asks her how much money does he need to buy out a courtesan. He wants to buy out Perrin. She tells him that he will need around 10,000 silvers, and he needs to hurry up because at least 2 contenders are looking to buy her out. Lihaku is shocked how much money he needs. Then, Maomao analyzes Lihaku to see his body type and if he is a good fit for Perrin. Maomao tells him to take off all his clothes to do a deep analysis. After taking a look at his body, Maomao finds him in really good shape, really nice muscles, looks like he trains a lot, and should have a good amount of stamina. While analyzing Lihaku, Master Jinshi gets in by seeing Lihaku naked and Maomao around him. Furious, he waits for explanations from Maomao. She's saying that she was conducting a deep analysis for Lihaku to make an estimate for him, if he is good for her sister. Ironically, Jinshi asks Maomao what she thinks about him. She explains that from his physique, Master Lihaku is a very strong and talented man which has potential in the future. This makes Jinshi interested in Lihaku. The next day, Master Jinshi makes an offer to Lihaku 20,000 silvers and tries to make him his ally. Jinshi says that he heard that Lihaku has some romantic interest in one of the courtesans, and he can help with the money. Lihaku refuses because he thinks a true man has to provide himself the money for the woman that he loves. Master Jinshi tells him that they should have conversations soon again. Maomao sends a letter to Perrin, telling her that Lihaku is interested in her. She sends a letter back, letting Maomao know that she is willing to accept and negotiate his proposal. The word is confirmed. Lady Gyokyu is pregnant. Indeed, Maomao has fun with her kid by showing her how to draw poisonous plants. Hongyang slaps her and tells her to draw normal flowers. Lacan challenges Jinshi to produce blue roses. Jinshi is firmly convinced that they don't exist. Lacan assures him that they do exist because he saw them before. Jinshi has a month to produce them. He asks Maomao to help him with that. After long and exhausting work, Maomao manages to make that happen. Jinshi gets his blue roses. He brings them in front of the emperor at the ceremony where Lady Lulan is introduced as a new concubine. Everyone is impressed by these blue roses, but not Lacan. Lacan is bored of the ceremony and makes fun of the man in front of him. Lacan reveals his perspective of seeing people. He sees people's faces as ghost stones. Men are black and women are white stones. His subordinates for military, he sees them as chess pieces. As they become higher in rank, he sees them as cavalry and cannons. Working as a military man, it's easy for him. He needs to know where to place the pieces. Then, he's in shock to encounter Maomao. Master Jin Shi, and Master Gao Shun. Maomao asks him to join her for a couple of chess matches. Lacan, with a happy face, gladly accepts it. Maomao tells him that they're going to play 5 matches. Who loses 3 can do to the other person what they wish for. Lacan is saying that if he wins, she will come and live with him. Maomao tells him that if she wins, he's going to buy 1 girl from Verdigris House. Maomao adds some more rules. She pours some hard liquor into 5 cups and pours some poison into 3 of them, saying that after losing a match, the loser will drink 1 of the glasses. That's the first rule. The second is that it doesn't matter the reason if one of them leaves for any particular matter. It will count as an automatic lose. Lacan accepts. Maomao loses 2 matches in a row and drinks 2 cups with the liquor. In the third match, Lacan gives the win to Maomao because he doesn't want to poison his own daughter. He chooses a cup and drinks it. After drinking that, he feels bad and falls on the ground. Jin Shi is concerned that she killed him by poisoning. But Maomao explains to him that Master Lacan abstains from drinking completely, and just a small portion of alcohol will make him go to sleep. They take him to the Verdigris House. While sleeping, Lacan has a dream where he starts to say that he could not differentiate people's faces since he was a kid. He could not differentiate his mother from his nanny. His father left him and went to a different mistress, leaving his mom alone. From a young age, he therefore devoted himself to Go and chess. Out of everybody else, only his uncle understood him, and he became his mentor. His uncle told him why not to use chess pieces to differentiate people. He started to see people's faces as chess pieces. One day he went with his colleague to a brothel. There he met a brilliant woman who beat him in Go. Her name was Feng Xian. He was surprised that she had beaten him, when suddenly Lacan could see her human face. He fell in love with her instantly. For years he was playing with her chess and Go. Gradually her price started to go up, and he could not see her that often, only once in 3 months. He could not afford to buy her out. One night after playing Go, they slept together. 3 months later, his uncle sent him to study abroad, and he could not refuse him. Feng Xian sent him a letter that she agreed on her price to be bought out. Lacan thought he's going to be absent only for about 6 months, but it was 3 years. He was back too late. She got pregnant the night when they saw each other last time, and her reputation fell down a lot. She was forced to offer services to streetwalkers. She got sick with syphilis. It was too late for him to buy her out. Lacan wakes up at Verdigris House, met by Maomao. She gives him some medicine to drink and a box that Maomao left for him, and in the box was a blue rose. When Lacan looks at the rose, it reminds him about Feng Xian. He goes downstairs to pick one of the courtesans to buy. After some thoughts, he decides to buy Maomao, because she was good to him all this time, and she was Feng Xian's servant when she was a kid. Maomao tells him that if she is the one he wants to choose, she will accept without hesitation. But if he is going to choose well, and goes and opens the door to the backyard. The madam that owns the hotel yells at Maomao to close the doors. Lacan rushes to the room where Feng Xian stays ill. Lacan finds her singing a song for kids. He chooses to buy Feng Xian, and he's willing to pay any amount that Madame is asking. Lacan sees Feng Xian's face as the same as the first time they met. He starts to cry, and the tears come out in streams. They start to play Go. Maomao is in tears as well, and tells the madam that owns the hotel if she was honest with Lacan from the beginning, Feng Xian would not have to wait all this time. A few days later, Maomao receives a letter from Maomao informing her who was bought out. Maomao remembers when Maomao told her to promise that the day when Maomao will be bought out to dance for her. She dresses up and goes up the tower and starts to dance her dance for Feng Xian too, under the open sky full of stars. When she finishes, her dance master Jin Shi appears out of nowhere and scares Maomao. She steps on her dress and is about to fall down the high wall, but Jin Shi catches her in time and holds her back. He asks her why she is right there. She explains that there is a custom that whenever a courtesan is bought out, somebody performs a dance for her. Maomao informs Jinshi that her wound on the leg opened up and she needs to sew it back. He grabs her into his hands and starts to carry Maomao back to the house. On their way home, Maomao tells Jinshi that she needs to say to him something. She hesitates for a couple of seconds. Jinshi is curious as to what she has to say. He tells her not to think that long and to tell him what is on her mind. Maomao leans in towards his face. Jinshi hopes that there's going to be a kiss, but Maomao asks him, where is her promised ox bezoar? He gets mad and gives her a headbutt. While Jinshi is carrying her, Maomao thinks that she likes him whenever he acts this way. He's easy to talk to. Jinshi continues to carry her under a beautiful sky full of stars.